Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a review on Alice Oseman's Radio Silence. I've heard a ton on this book, and it's the reason that I actually picked it up. And I definitely have some thoughts on it, so if you want to know what I thought of the book, or if you read it and you want to have a little discussion in the comments down below, then just keep on watching. Alright, so to give a brief synopsis of the book that doesn't really include too many spoilers, you're following the lives of Frances and Alid. So Frances is this girl who is obsessed with this podcast kind of thing. It's on YouTube, but it's audio, and it's of this, is it actually called Radio Silence? No, it's called Universe City. So she's obsessed with it. The creator of the actual podcast YouTube thing is actually unknown, and she's just obsessed. She makes a ton of fan art for it. And what ends up happening is the creator actually reaches out and asks if she would be interested in making art for it. So she gets super excited about it, and she's just super hype and all this shit. And what she actually ends up learning is that this guy that she knows in her, like, he's on her street, and like she just runs into him a lot, who's super quiet and super just kept to himself, named Alid, is actually the guy who's behind Universe City. And she's so just taken aback by it because she just couldn't imagine a guy who's just so quiet and to himself creating such an expansive world that just has drawn the attention of tens of thousands of people, as well as just this whole like fandom behind it. It ends up kind of moving forward from there, and he wants to keep his identity secret and all that shit. But they develop a friendship, and it not only follows just the podcast YouTube thing, but also how Alid and Frances actually, as their friendship blooms, both of them really get comfortable within themselves because they have each other as support. And that's actually one of the elements I love the most about this book. But yeah, that's probably the best synopsis-wise I can give. There's a lot of kind of drama with the podcast and shit, and eventually it does come out that it's mentioned in the original synopsis, so I think I'm allowed to say that it does come out that his identity is like, it's just leaked, and it's like all this drama and shit. But yeah, that's the most I can do synopsis-wise. Speaking honestly, I actually picked this up without checking at all what it was about. Typically, when I want to read a book, I will research it because I hate picking up books that I don't like. And that's typically why when you guys see a rant review, I'm always like, I was so excited for this and I'm so disappointed, because I go through as many steps as I can to make sure that every book I pick up is one that I'm going to love. So when it came to this book, I kind of saw like the hype for it. I saw a couple people be like, you need to read this book, you need to read Radio Silence, and I'm like, where did this even come from? And I just fleetingly bought it. I don't know why, but I'm glad that I did, because I know if I had read the synopsis on it, I wouldn't have read it. And it's because it does have that fandom element to it and the whole fangirl thing, and you guys know it's just not something I really read, because I find that writers just tend to really make it as cringy as possible when they're trying to write shit like that, which I just can't handle. And I have to say, I'm really glad that I didn't do any research on this book whatsoever, because then I wouldn't have read it and I wouldn't have enjoyed it as much, or wouldn't have enjoyed it at all because I wouldn't have read it. But yeah, I definitely, if I'd known what was coming, I would have had very low expectations and it would have really exceeded them. But it just really was a great book. A lot of this book actually just follows the fact that this friendship is blooming between two people, where Frances has these friends at school that she doesn't really. So Frances was very like studious and was obsessed with getting good grades, and because of that, she didn't have a lot of friends, and she was known in school within her school friend group as studious Frances, who could never hang out because she was always studying. And because of that, she always felt very silenced in terms of being able to be her true self, like wearing maybe funky clothes or talking about how much she loved Universe City, which is something that she had kept completely to herself. And as she becomes friends with Alid, she learns that Alid actually is just like her, in the sense that Alid was quiet and reserved and kind of always looked uncomfortable because he didn't feel comfortable to just be his true self and wear the things that he wanted to wear or do his hair the way he wanted to. And the main part of the book was the fact that Frances and Alid, as their friendship was growing, they were just becoming more confident in themselves and giving each other confidence, and it was just so cute to read. I literally could not deal with it. It was the cutest thing ever. It was adorable. It just reminded me a lot of how, like, back when I was in high school, I didn't really have people in high school that I related to, and I definitely had a version of myself that I put out when I was in school, that I just felt like I was a very toned down, blander version of myself, where I didn't really talk about what I wanted to talk about. I just kind of would like sit in this group of people and just like be there and not really do much because I just felt uncomfortable. But then when I found my group of friends that I'm still friends with now, it was like just incredible. I was able to be who I wanted to be and act the way that I wanted to act and dress the way that I wanted to dress and just be myself. And I remember how much that meant to me when it happened to me in high school, and just watching it happen in the book just made me so nostalgic and also just made my heart really warm. I couldn't tell you how much I related to this girl in the way that she felt trapped and how she had to be friends with certain people just so she had somebody to sit with at lunch, and just had no outside motivation to hang out with these people, and just kind of felt very alone in herself, and finally found somebody that she could actually be herself with. And I think that's why I liked it so much, because I did really relate with that aspect of the book, and it was a strong part of the actual storyline, which I appreciate. I think that it was a great area to focus on because of what obviously happens after, but it was just a really wholesome book. Like, it was so good. Like, the fact that this book was mainly about two people that were helping each other grow and become more confident with themselves and not have to change themselves, like, my heart, like, that's so cute. It was just the cutest. And the fact that the representation was amazing. They don't end up together at the end. She says that deadpan, I think in like chapter 4, because the main character is Francis is bisexual, and Aled is actually, he's struggling to find his sexuality, but you're introduced quickly that he's actually gay, but he is more than that. It kind of like goes past that as the story progresses, and he's trying to figure out who he is, and he's very troubled by finding his own sexuality. So it's just really great. It was I liked that you didn't have them end up together. I liked that both characters weren't straight and white. I believe Frances was Ethiopian, I'm pretty sure she was, and Aled was white, but like, he was not straight. Like, thank you so much. We stan. Not to say I know somebody's gonna be like, what, we can't have a straight white character? It's like, you can, but it's nice to see when it's not, and especially when it's a book that focuses on growing the confidence of both those characters. Like, it was evident that their sexuality, as well as their ethnicity and their just them, or how do I explain this? Yeah, their sexuality and their ethnicity weren't thrown just in a token way of like, oh, by the way, she's not white, so you can't tell me I'm lack of individuality in my characters. No, I have one Asian character in my book. Like, it was very obvious that these characters were written the way they were, not just because it was like, okay, we have our token non-white and then we have 7 white characters. Like, it had a lot to do with them finding themselves and incorporating their sexuality and their ethnicity into it, because Frances obviously, she mentions that she felt very distanced from her culture because her dad and her mom had actually divorced, and her dad had been Ethiopian and her mom was white, and she didn't really talk to her dad's side of the family that much because she lived with her mom. Also, full offense, Aled's mom can catch these fucking hands. That bitch, I hated her. She was the worst. I really, really hated her so much, and I get that it was obviously for the book, but oh my god, if I could square up with Aled's mom, I'm here, okay? I'm here for you, Aled. I will beat her up. I don't know how I'll beat her up, but I will. The way that she forced both Aled and his sister, it's just like, fuck you, like, actually fuck you. And it just made me so sad, because you know that there's people in the world who don't have super supportive parents, who are supportive of their children kind of figuring out their sexuality and just themselves. Like, even pushing sexuality out of the picture for a second, like, even like, she wouldn't even let him like grow his hair out. Like, she was the freaking worst. And you just know that there's that type of parent out there just demonizing their kid, and it just makes you really sad. Like, reading this book, you kind of go through this roller coaster of emotions where you're reading and you're just like, oh, this is so heartwarming, but also very sad. And you just know that there's kids going through it, and it just like, I just want to give them all a hug, like just a group hug. The book also made me think a lot about just how lucky I am to have like the parents I have and the family I have, and how supportive they are. And books that kind of make you reflect on yourself and the family you have and like your friends. I think that's great. I love books that kind of make you feel thankful and happy about the things that you have in your own life and just the network of support that you can have. And I also like that this book did just, it was so good. It was literally like, this book is the definition of just like a nice warm hug. Like, you guys don't understand. I bought this book and was like, it's super hype. Like, I'll probably finish this in like 3 days. I'll read it like bit by bit. I finished this book in 1 day, in like the course of 3 hours that were the most emotional 3 hours of my entire life. I literally was having a stroke in public and tearing up like a freaking, I don't even know. Oh, it was just very, I really hope nobody actually saw me having this literal episode in public in a freaking park and was like, how am I supposed to just go and be normal now that I've read this book? Like, how am I supposed to just be normal? I am a ball of emotions. I'm emo as hell right now. I just want to go sit on a freaking, I don't even know, a field of grass and think about my life. Like, honest to God. All right, so let's go into the definitive things that I liked. We're just going to kind of like whack through them 1, 2, 3. Representation, hello, thank you, amazing. I loved that the two people didn't end up together. I loved also, this was a big thing, I loved that radio silence wasn't a romantic gesture. If you guys have read the book, if you haven't read the book, radio silence throughout the whole thing, there was this whole thing of like, what was it, January? Or no, remember the February notes or whatever, and there'd be these little excerpts in the audio that were, it was evident that the person who was making them was trying to send somebody a message. And throughout the story, you're kind of alluded that it was actually one of Alid's boyfriends, but it actually turns out that it was to his sister who ran away, and he was trying to get in contact with her, and like, how am I supposed to... so emotional, like it's so cute. Like, how am I supposed to go through my life? How am I supposed to go through my life when none of my brothers do that for me? Like, do I have to run away to do that shit? My brothers don't even clean up their own dishes. Like, what the heck? This brother is reaching out to his sister, making this whole series that has like gotten all of these subscribers because he just wanted to talk to his sister again. Like, what the fuck? Like, that's so fucking cute. And I really like that it wasn't a romantic thing. It's not a huge deal. I wouldn't have been like, I hate this book if it had been a romantic thing, but it was a nice surprise. That's what I'll say on it. Another thing that I really like was the fact that you have Frances, who for the longest time thought that she was going to be this, I don't even know what she wanted. What did she want to be? I think she just wanted to like get a good job and go to Oxford and then get money. Or that's so she thought she wanted. But it turns out that she realizes her passion for art. And after she gets denied from Oxford, she instead applies for an art school. And the main reason that I like this is because in a lot of books, the girl who gets into art is typically introduced as someone who like slacks off or is very like, I don't care about the social constructs of school and blah, 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 because I'm an artist. And like, that's cool. Like, there's people like that do exist, but there are a lot of people who are overachievers in school, like Frances, who was very good at normal school and worked really hard to get certain grades, but at the same time has a passion like art where you don't have as definitive of checkpoints in terms of getting to a successful or stable position in terms of like finance and just a job in general. And I like that it was depicted that way because like me and myself, I once again really related to Frances in this way because I was a huge overachiever in high school, and I've always been the type of person that would like make lists and check things, and it's a lot easier for someone to choose that path where it's like you go to university, then you go to get your master's, then after you get your master's you get a job, and then you have a job and you get your money and blah 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 blah, versus if you take something like art where it's like you spent your whole life overachieving and having a very set list of goals and the things you want to do, but your true passion actually lies in a journey that's a lot more up in the air, which can be very stressful. And I like that she was the type of character that was like that, where she was very used to routine and working extremely hard at that routine and thriving in a routine, and then realizing that her passion actually lied outside of what she was comfortable in. Also, the podcast kind of reminded me of like the green light from Gatsby. I don't know if that's just me being ridiculous, but I thought that was pretty cute. I don't know. This is a random thing. Another thing I really liked was, once again, the romance in this book didn't overtake the plot. Like, guys, This is a great day. This is yet another book that does not let one small romance just overtake the plot and just go like romance, 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 romance. Like forget everything else. We only care about the romance. Like this, there was romance in this book, but it was very subplot, which thank you so much. Like actually give attention to the character development and the actual story that started off the book rather than some books that start off this story and then are like romance. It's like fuck off. Like this is a great book, great example of how to handle romance in a YA book and not fuck it up. 10 out of 10 content. And I love the author's subtle when Carrie's and Francis are in the bed together and Carrie's kisses Francis and Francis is not down for it and Carrie's just goes, that's okay. Like, oh my god, like this author's really doing it all. Like she is setting examples for how you take rejection. She's setting examples of having proper representation in her books. She's setting representation for character development. She's setting all of these standards for fucking YA. Y'all better step the fuck up. Like this book is the bomb. And yeah, other than that, other than Adele's mom needing to go eat shit, there's literally nothing I didn't like about this book. I really, really enjoyed it. I could not recommend it more, honestly. It was incredible. And I definitely would recommend read it in the summer. Have the sun beating down on you so that when you're crying your eyes out, it dries them because you will cry. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, feel free to like and subscribe. Turn my post notifications on if you want. If you've read the book before, let me know your thoughts by just leaving a comment down below. As well, if you want to follow me outside of YouTube, you can. I have Twitter and Instagram, which are both Casey Aonso, as well as Goodreads, which is also Casey Aonso. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks again for watching.